the Olight Warrior Mini. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, Everyday Carry for the Everyday Guy, and today we're going to be talking about the Olight Warrior Mini. Olight's really strangely named flashlight. I think if this was called anything other than the Olight Warrior Mini, it would have received a much greater reception. But as always, what is in a name, a rose by any other name would smell just as sweet. So we're going to have a look at the Olight Warrior Mini in my usual flashlight review process. I got early access to the Warrior Mini. I had it for about a month and a half prior to the international release. So I've been EDCing it for quite a while longer than most people would have had it if they bought it ordinarily through normal channels. Okay, Warrior Mini. I'm going to do quite aggressive drop tests on this guy because it's got the Warrior name. So let's do 10. Clip came off, but that's okay. Looks like we're still good to go. From drop test, let's go to waterproofing. Okay, so post drop test, everything still works. I'm going to put the flashlight into moonlight mode, put it in a bowl, right, and then put ice on top of it because I don't want it to float to the top when I put water in. And the lid. And the freezer. Let me get some more light on that for you. So in the freezer, and we will wait till this guy freezes and go from there. At least 24 hours later, still on. Let's break it out. Wow. This might take a moment. Button is solid. Button is still frozen solid. I'd call that a success, right? Olight Warrior Mini stress testing. Now guys, before we go further, I want you to acknowledge there are very few flashlights out there, or flashlight companies or flashlight manufacturers that would condone doing that with their flashlights. A lot of people have issues with where Olight comes from. It is a Chinese company, that's the reality of it. However, something you really can't have an issue with is the survivability of Olights. Do some of them fail sometimes? Yes, but that's normal. No matter what. Formula 1 engines fail sometimes, and Formula 1 companies pump millions of dollars and pounds into longevity and reliability. So there's always going to be the odd Olight that does fail. It's the reality of mass manufacturing. However, when it comes to testing, there are very few flashlight companies, models, or manufacturers that I am that confident or willing to do what I do to Olights. Olights in general are really, really survivable flashlights, okay? There aren't many companies who make flashlights who would survive what I put the Warrior Mini through. Now there was something else I wanted to try. The Warrior Mini has a 1500 lumen max setting activated via a tail switch. Now, I'm going to get into the modes in a moment, but the 1500 lumen is a deep press on the tail switch. Deep press, not depress. And I wanted to see what would happen if I could control temperature and leave it on 1500 lumens. So what I did was I put it in a bowl with some water to keep the temperature sort of constant, put it in 1500 lumens, and then sped up time by, I think, 15,000 times. I can't remember. So the time lapse, I manually sped this up in my video editing app. And pretty much by the looks of it, the 1500 lumens dims after 4 minutes, not because of the battery, but because of temperature control. So if you are in a cold environment, you might get that 1500 lumens for a bit longer. So depending on what the ambient temperature is when 1500 lumen mode is activated, you could get 1500 lumens for longer or shorter. But from that footage, you should have seen that you're getting a pretty constant light there for the full, I think it's 2 hours, and then my camera's battery was about to die, so we had to stop short. But I mean, 2 hours in max lumen, not bad at all. So just before we get to modes, let's talk about what's in the box. You get your standard Olight box, as you all know. You get your manual, which after this review you won't need. You get a lanyard. Olight, I'd like to make a suggestion. I don't know what it costs for you guys to manufacture these lanyards, right? But maybe skip the lanyard and make the flashlight a bit cheaper. Just a thought, use it, don't use it. And then you get your proprietary Olight charger, the magnetic situation. Now, this goes from dead to full. They say in about 3.5 hours. I've got it to get to full in, I think it was 2 hours and 40 minutes. So I think it depends on the power source and the amount of current flowing through the situation. But you're looking, let's just round it off to around 3 hours from completely dead to completely full. Okay guys, as you know, for beam shots, I do it across a street. And I'm only going to do it in max lumen mode because that's kind of the only mode we care about. So this is max lumen across the street. That's around 10,000 candela. And that's what 1,500 lumens and around 10k candela would look like across a completely black street. I'll go on the other side and show you what the camera sees. Okay, so let's do modes, and then I'm going to talk to you about this flashlight in an everyday carry capacity. So there are 2 ways to function this light. One is on the tail cap. Okay, so a light press on the tail cap gives you a medium setting of 120 lumens, and then a full deep press gives you the max setting of 1500 lumens. I should add that the 1500 lumens is just under 10,000 candela, 9,025, so just over 9,000 candela. And that's a really good amount of candela in a flashlight this size. Light tap goes into medium on the tail cap, and then a full depression goes into turbo, which is 1500 lumens, and you'll get that for 4 minutes and then it'll start dimming. Now the cool part of this is if you want to go into like EDC mode, you've got a side switch button here which works like Olight's normal side switches. So when you put it on, you've got low, medium and high, and pressing and holding will cycle through it. Low is 15 lumens, medium is 120 lumens, and high is 500 lumens. And as always on Olights, if you press and hold, you get moonlight mode of 1 lumen. 1 lumen mode will last for 45 days. Now the cool part is the rear button functions independently of the side button. And guys, I'm not going to get into like how long you get everything for. The most important bit is main high mode or turbo mode on the tail switch is a maximum of 4 minutes, environment depending, as you saw earlier on, and the lowest mode of 1 lumen, 45 days. Everything else is kind of in between. There is also a lockout mode for those who don't want to burn their pockets, and then a triple tap puts you into strobe. You can only access strobe via triple tap on the side switch. From an everyday carrier's perspective, what Olight have tried to do is sort of marry their Warrior series, in my opinion, marry their Warrior series with their Baton series. So if you look at a size comparison between the Olight S2R Baton 2 and the Olight Warrior Mini, it's a bit hard to hold this together because the magnetic base caps are pushing each other apart. It's very similar size-wise, right? If you look at the predecessors in the Warrior line, for example, the Warrior X Turbo or the M2R Pro Warrior, those sort of things, it's really not comparable. When Olight says this is a tactical flashlight, I think that is a slight misrepresentation. I think this is an EDC flashlight that offers a tactical application. And when you use the word tactical, you have to remember your environment determines your tactics. Okay? When I use different tools, flashlights or whatever the case may be, flashlights, knives, holsters, whatever, I do a threat assessment or an environmental assessment. Where am I going? What are my potential dangers? What are the risks? If I'm going to go to an event at the Cape Town International Convention Center, I'm probably going to run something like this because the likelihood of something going down there is very slim versus if I'm going to go to watch a soccer match at 10 o'clock in the evening on a public soccer field. Then I'd take something like this because the likelihood of something going down quite serious, you know, when you're going to watch a soccer match where people are and there's alcohol potentially and it's rivalries and that sort of thing, is quite different. So doing a form of threat assessment or environmental assessment, and remember guys, this is not absolute. Anything bad can happen anywhere, but we assess to the best of our abilities. Where the Olight Warrior Mini comes in is it's trying to give you the best of both those worlds. It's not quite the smallest flashlight. Like Olights can get pretty small. If you want a really tiny flashlight, you can get the S1R, but you can get the S1R Baton 2, which is like a miniature. If you want to go something even smaller, the Phoenix E16 is even smaller than that, right? But you're going to have reduced capabilities and you're not going to have the thing everyone wants, which is that tail cap operation. Now, I will say the tail cap operation on the Warrior Mini is not your standard tactical light tail cap operation. Okay. Press and hold as per Olight is momentary and tap is on, and that's for both modes on the tail cap. Whereas a more dedicated tactical flashlight, this is the Bernard P228 Oathkeeper, it's generally a light press for momentary and a click for constant, and the travel on the button is quite long, so you can really control that momentary very easily. This has a secondary strobe function on the tail cap, which is why it flashed like that. Now, in order for Olight to maintain that magnetic charging capability, they can't have the travel on this light, on the tail cap, be too far or too deep or raise up too high, because then it won't make contact with these. Can you see these little nubs on there? I'm assuming that's to like complete the circuit on the tail cap. So it's not a tactical flashlight by standard tactical flashlight terms. But then again, Olight's tactical flashlights have never had that really long travel on the rear tail switch because they want to continue to cater for their magnetic charger. Whereas if you look at something like this, which is a dedicated tactical flashlight, lot of travel on this guy before it clicks, right? Travel, click. Whereas on the Warriors, you almost depressing into the tail cap and it just clicks on. So you got to understand, I really think that this is more of an EDC flashlight with tactical application than a tactical flashlight for EDC. This is a tactical flashlight that you can EDC. This is probably the biggest flashlight that I EDC, right? The Brenner P228 Oathkeeper. Guys, I've done full reviews on all of this, and the link to my flashlight review playlist will be popping up in your screen. So if you want to check out other flashlights, you can definitely go ahead and do that. Where I think the Warrior Mini really shines is like it's a jack of all trades. It's circumference isn't too large, so it fits in your pocket fairly easily and it's easy to conceal. It's got a really deep conceal clip. Now the clip, again, tactical flashlights, you'd want that clip on the other side so the light sits like that in your pocket. So when you grab it, it's immediately ready to go. When the flashlight sits like this in your pocket, you take it out of your pocket and then you've got to flip it around. Okay, so again, Olight giving us a tail cap operation, but remembering or sort of staying true to their EDC roots, which is to make sure you can drop this into your pocket and it basically disappears. Another thing is this will fit into the coin pocket of your jeans if you so wanted to, but it will stick out a bit more than if you put it into one of your side pockets. The bezel, there is you could call this a crenulated bezel, but it's not really. It's just like little ridges on there, right? It's not quite something like the M2R Pro Warrior, which is super aggressive. A flashlight that I didn't want to EDC just because of how aggressive the strike bezel was in here. And so my thoughts. So as an everyday carry flashlight, it's a brilliant flashlight. If they had called this the Olight S3R Baton 1 or S2R Baton 3, right, it would have been the perfect EDC flashlight. It's got tactical application whilst having your utilitarianism, right? One of the things I really like is the magnetic tail cap. I use the magnetic tail cap quite a bit. It's a very utilitarian flashlight that does have tactical applications, but you've got to sort of assess your environment. I want to say again, your environment determines your tactics, okay? And your environment determines the gear you employ to maximize your tactics. Guys, I really like it. It's definitely an EDC worthy flashlight. Would I recommend this to someone who's going to use it as a duty light, a police officer, law enforcement? No, I don't think it has the design for that. I think this is more of an everyday carrier, civilian EDC utilitarian light. So just get over that name Warrior and you've got a really, really cool flashlight. Guys, if you do want to buy this, I have a 10% discount code for everything on Olight South Africa's store. It's EDC for the EDG. I'll leave it linked down below. Use the link down below plus that code and you get 10% off everything that is not on sale. Things that are on sale are obviously already discounted, so the discount code won't work. I want to say a huge thank you to Olight for sending me this so early and allowing me to test it as I have. They often support the channel as they do with many YouTube content creators, which I think is really cool because it allows more people to see more gear and make better decisions on what they want. The Warrior Mini, I like it. It's probably one of the most survivable everyday carry flashlights you're ever going to get your hands on. It's got the modes, it's got the functionality, it's got the USB rechargeableness. Oh, just before we end off, the battery, let's get this guy out. 3500 milliamp 18650 battery. That's it, guys. Thank you for checking out this review. I hope you enjoyed it. If you are following me everywhere, thank you so much. I do urban EDC reviews, so I review gear from an urban utilitarian everyday carry, everyday guy concept. My channel is called EDC for the EDG, everyday carry for everyday guy. If you are following me everywhere, please consider following another content creator who creates content for EDC, because our environment and our people really need all the support we can get right now. Thanks, guys. I will see you soon for another review. Have a good week. Stay safe, train hard, be well. Cheers. God bless.